my job technically is teaching guys how to be attracted to women, and I'm decently good at it, not to be a little bit humble about the situation, but I know very much what I'm talking about. I've been doing this now for 10 years. And a big thing I see with a lot of guys is when they approach a girl, they try to be a button pusher. Now, if you're starting it off, hey, what's up, Brad? How's it going? If you're starting this off and you're trying to force an outcome, or you're trying to button push, let's say like you are trying to be the nice guy. Let's see, this is what a lot of guys do at first. They try to do the quintessential nice guy thing. I'm gonna be the nice guy. I'm gonna hold the door open for you. I'm gonna push that button. Guess what? It's gonna come across very manipulative, and it's gonna come across very clairvoyant. So if you try doing that, first and foremost, not gonna fucking work. All right, it's just not gonna happen. Now, let's say that you are trying the opposite effect, because what usually happens after guys try to be the nice guy. Thank you, man. So usually when guys try the nice guy thing, they're like, oh no, girls don't like nice guys. But it wasn't even you being a nice guy, it was you being a manipulative douchebag. But now you're going to continue to try to be a manipulative douchebag because you misread the situation. So what are you going to do? You're going to go back in the opposite, which means you're going to be a bad boy. You're going to try to be an asshole, which means you're just going to be a dick. So you're like, girls really like assholes. So now you're going to push this button. You're going to try to be an asshole. Now, here's the funny thing. This will work with certain girls that are low self-esteem because they have like maybe a codependent trait in them and they're attracted to narcissists. So, or maybe they had a disassociated father and somehow they think and they see the relationship with their mother and they mistake that with being the relationship that they should want subconsciously. So then they see you doing this and then it's an unhealthy relationship. Now let's say you go in the opposite direction, okay? Now at some point, like when you keep doing this, eventually the thing that should happen is that you should get like pretty much, something shaken in you. With me, I had a lot of stupid situations. I got arrested once. I OD'd at one point. And eventually, just getting the shit kicked out of me by life, I eventually realized, hey, maybe being an asshole isn't the greatest thing. Maybe I should strive to be a better person. So then I try to be a better person. Not from not the manipulative route, but actually just legitimately trying to be a nice guy. It's like trying to care about people because I realized ultimately I'm an empath and I'm an empathetic person. So then I'm like, regardless of whether or not the girls like me, I'm just going to be me. I will have a little bit of that sprinkle of bad boy in me, but I'm also going to have a little bit of that nice guy. I'm not going to be either or. So then I started doing that. Then I started to kind of I started screening. I started actually looking at certain things in girls. So I got to the point where I dated enough girls. I've been around the block a few times, or like some girl would mistakenly date me. Not that I think that at the time, I don't think I was was worthy of dating. I don't think I wasn't like that kind of a dude. But then what ended up happening was I started screening. I started noticing what I want and didn't want in girls. And instead of me walking up to a girl and just trying to fill the space or trying to get her attracted to me or trying to say the right things, instead I was talking to her from a place of are you this person? Are you this model of a girl that I adore, that I want in my life? And I started screening for it actively. And here's the funny thing. So a lot of guys, whenever they walk up to a girl and they start talking to her, the first thing they usually say is the premise, or you could say it non-verbally. So let's say you walk up to a girl, you say, hey, I think you're cute. What's your name? It's box theory. So you have to understand this girl gets hit on a lot, especially if she's attractive. So when I approach a girl, I try to come across as not that other guy, because people don't have the ability to give everybody their own individual personality. That's actually why there's a problem with racism. That's why there's a problem with. So if you see an old guy walking up the street, you don't give that old guy his own personality. You're like, oh, it's another one of those old guys. And you're like, that's the old guy 122. Because you only have the mentality or the mental bandwidth to handle 150 people in a tribe. And the world's too big for that nowadays. So you give everybody so you have a bunch of boxes in your head that you put people into. You're like, oh, this is that box, this is that box, this is that box. So maybe you approach a girl, she's like, oh, this is a player, which she doesn't know. Most guys, 99% of guys are have the hardest fucking time with getting laid or getting sex at all. And she doesn't know that the chances of this guy having that ability is extremely fucking rare. But in her head, sex is easy for a guy because it's easy for her. So she's like, player, fuck you, player. Not me, I'm different and I'm special. Nobody's really different and special, which she doesn't realize. Everybody's the exact same, and every girl thinks this. She thinks all her friends are sluts, and she thinks that she's the unique one. But really, every girl's picky. I know that sounds weird, but every girl's picky. And they should be. They should be. Everybody should be picky, guys and girls, but guys don't have the options to be picky most of the time. That 99% of guys don't have the options to be picky, and that's kind of fucking sucks. So a lot of you guys who are trying to get here, you guys have to first get options first, because if you don't get options, it's really tough to be picky when you approach a girl. You're not going to approach her thinking to yourself, is this the girl I want? Because you don't even fucking know. You probably had like 15, 20 sexual partners at most, if you actually were like decently prolific at this. But if you were like like my stupid ass, maybe a little bit more so. If you guys get what I'm saying. At a certain point, you're going to get to it where it's like, for you should get here. I know some guys who don't, but at a certain point, you need to kind of detach from the idea that the sex is going to make you complete, because it never does. It's like an empty hole. It's like you're trying to fill this vast empty space that is constantly emptying. Maybe it has a drain at the bottom. You're trying to fill up this giant tub with water that has a drain at the bottom. And so maybe like after sex, you'll feel good for maybe like a few hours. And like it'll be like kind of the parting of the clouds, like that little light. And then as soon as it goes away, you'll come right back to depression. It doesn't help you. It's the way you're going to find your way out of this shit is not through that. It's by letting go of the depression itself and actually learning to replace it with happiness and not attach your narrative and identity to it. It's not going to be through the women. So if you guys actually want to get really good with the girls too, and I'll say this, negativity and depression, actually discuss them. So I can talk to some of you guys who are into red pill stuff, and I know within 3 sentences, without you even mentioning red pill, that you're into red pill. The self is always coming through. If you guys hate women, it comes across. I love the fuck out of women. Women are so fucking cool. I have so many female friends that are amazing people, that are super sexy and cool ass girls. And some of you guys are like on some subconscious level hate women, and because of this, it's gonna come across, and the girls are not gonna like you. It's a sub-communication that you're not good with girls, and a sub-communication that you can't connect with them. When I talk to a girl, I connect. I'm looking for a connection. I want to build that vibe with. So some of you guys are trying to, like, when you guys approach a girl, you guys are trying to like bend her to your will, or button push her, or you guys are trying to figure out this puzzle. But like you guys should come across more from the frame that we're building a vibe together, as opposed to trying to subjugate or play games with. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. It's this. So I'll approach a girl and I'll start teasing her. Maybe I'll tease her about, so there's this girl 2 days ago that I approached while I was on this boot camp, and I approached her and I started teasing her. So my client pulls off to the side and he's trying to listen to me talk, and she, as we're joking and whatnot, we're teasing each other, and she goes, it's really funny, I actually wasn't sure if I was going to be into guys anymore. I'm like, what, you into women now? And she's like, no, it's not like that, it's just I'm not really sure about a relationship. I'm like, well, here, look at this. And I point out some blonde girl passed by. I'm like, would you date her? And she goes, no. I'm like, what about her? And I point out this old lady. I'm like, you into the old ones? You like you in it for the wallet and the bank account? And she goes, no, stop that. And so we started going back and forth over this, and I'm like, well, here, if you want to meet up tonight and you want to objectify women with me, I'm down with it. And she started laughing. Yeah, we actually exchanged Instagrams and phone numbers, and we're gonna be hanging out probably tomorrow. Does that sound like I manipulated her to like me? It sounds more like we built a vibe together, and the vibe was a lot of fun for the both of us, right? Yeah, that's actually what kind of game is. Game is like learning to like be your authentic, most positive self. So a lot of game is not even the women, it's you. So some of you guys who are too outcome dependent, where you guys need the outcome from the girl, you guys need to focus on something different. So for me, I focus on the man I become because of the approaching. I don't do it for the women, because I know the women are going to be there no matter what the fuck I do. I know that my friends are going to be there. I know that like the money is going to be there. I know my situation's not changing because my narrative won't allow it. So let's say like I lose a girl. There's going to be a girl right behind her in some form or fashion. She's not going to be the exact same girl, but somebody on the same wavelength, if not a little bit better if I evolved. Let's say like a girl breaks up with me and I evolved past it, and now an even better girl will come. So my narrative is not going to allow it. It's not going to allow me to like be alone forever. So I'm not worried about it. So I approach not for the girl, but for me, for the person I become because of the approaching. Now, you guys need to like change the outcome from getting the girl or getting the number or building abundance. So by the way, that was called deep abundance. There's a thing, passive abundance, called deep abundance. That's deep abundance. So abundance is the idea that, all right, so let's say two different rich guys. All right, so there's the millionaire that lost his money, earned his money back, lost his money, earned it back, back and back and back. Now let's say there's a billionaire. The billionaire earned his money once. Let's say they both lost their money. Who'd be better off in the end? The millionaire. Because he knows he can get it back. He has deep abundance. The billionaire doesn't. The billionaire is probably going to kill himself. And that sucks. But that's the difference between abundance and deep abundance. I've lost and earned women back and forth. I've lost and earned things back and forth, and it creates that deep abundance where you just know it's supposed to be there. And that's kind of a cool thing. It's like a beautiful, strong mentality. And that mentality also too becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So a lot of you guys resist it. You guys will lose a girl and you resist it. You're like, no, I lost the girl. And then you go out even harder. And you guys will push it and try to force it. And guess what? It will repel the girls away until you let go of it again. Or the time like heals the wound. Or you give up and you're just okay with like the being single. Then at that point, then it just, then your narrative comes back around again. But if you guys became non-resistant to it and just assumed it'd come back, it would come back. Like that's a big thing that a lot of guys don't get. If you just assumed it'd come back, it will come back. You have to build faith in your narrative. I know a lot of you guys don't have buy into it, but your entire world around you is not based on like chance or your inherent value necessarily, or your inherent intelligence or looks or whatnot. It's based on what you believe you deserve. If you guys don't think you deserve it, you're not gonna fucking get it. So you have to learn how to deserve it and build that like deep confidence. So now with this too, when I talk to a girl, all right, so there are some things that I do that are kind of a little more tactical, I would say. Like the box theory stuff. I know what most guys are saying when they approach a girl that makes them creepy, and I just don't say that. Oftentimes I'll say the opposite. It's just like kind of like put off a different vibe. Or maybe I'll make a comment about one of my female friends, or maybe I will... Now, here's another thing. When you guys approach a girl, you guys have already decided that you want to sleep with her, that you want to be with her because she's attractive. A guy that's actually good with girls, he doesn't fucking think like that. He doesn't like think like, oh, because she's attractive, now I want her. A girl doesn't even think like that. So a girl sees maybe a guy that she finds attractive, which there's a lot more to that than I'm not even going to get into this because it's going to take me too long to explain. And a lot of you guys won't believe me when I say it either, so I'm just not going to get into it. But so the fact that a girl's attractive is the open door for me to want to get to know her. If after said fact, she's a cool ass girl and I love talking to her, I want to hang out with her again. But if I know if I'm going to sleep with her and I'm going to be laying in bed next to her after sex and I'm not going to like her and I'm going to kick her out, I'm not going to hang out with her. I'm not trying to so a lot of you guys are like talking to me all the time about your lay count or whatnot. Lay count is gross and disgusting. All right. So when you get up to a certain number of like sexual partners, it starts getting gross and disgusting. And it's like, and the fact that some guys are still like purporting and like talking about how many girls they slept with, it's not cool, man. Like it gets gross at a certain point and you want to keep that number decently down. I mean, like anything past a certain number is just gross. And it's a big problem with the community. It's like the number of sexual partners you have in your life is dependent on how good your game is. That's not fucking true. Like you guys who are saying this are autistic. All right. And you guys need to like figure out how to build some like empathy and social awareness and intelligence. Because real guys who are good with women don't fucking care about their numbers. They don't care about how many sexual partners they had. That's stupid. It's fucking straight stupid. And any dating coach that says that shit is stupid. Don't fucking listen to him because he's not good with girls. Not really good with girls. There's a different type of good with girls and he's not it. All right, now here. Now, like I said, I care a lot about the personality and I have a very strong, all right, I'm dating quite a few girls right now and they're all in open relationships. I'm honest with all of them and a lot of them are actually my really good friends. But my favorite girl is not the most attractive girl I'm dating, to be honest. And I've been dating I date a lot of models. I'll date strippers, OnlyFans girls. I've dated one decent famous girl. But in the end, it's like the ones that I actually really liked were not even the ones that are most attractive. It's like the one that I can be she's my best friend. When I talk to her, she's my best friend. She's not a starfish in bed. Her and me laugh so much, like to where our bellies hurt. And it's really hard to find that in like in a super attractive girl, because attractive girls get way too much validation from guys that suck with girls, and like then they get this like backwards feeding loop that tells them that they're already awesome, they don't have to work on themselves, and they don't work on themselves, and they suck with conversations, they have no personality, they're very flat. Like the amount of girls that I'll talk to, I'm like, oh yeah, hey, I own a business. I'm like, oh, that sounds so easy, I could do that too. I'm like, bitch, do you know that I worked 100 hours a week to build this fucking thing, like for fucking like 5 to 10 years, and you're just like, yeah, it sounds so easy, I'm so super smart, and I'm like a genius, I think, and I'm like so charismatic. I'm like, man, you say 2 words, I want to go to sleep. You don't know what actual charisma is. You're charismatic because you got nice tits. And that's unfortunate too, because you're never going to learn that charisma. You're not. What's going to happen one day is going to get 30 to 35, maybe because you're not treating your body right, and you're going to start falling apart, and guys are going to stop talking to you, and then you're going to be like, guys are assholes. You know, I knew it all along, and guys are just dicks, and I don't get this whole dating thing. And it's that you suck and you never learned how to like build that charisma. But this like cool ass girl that I'm dating, she's probably got to be continuing to become more and more awesome as she gets older. And so why a lot of your favorite like pickup coaches and whatnot, and your dating coaches, date like girls that are not necessarily what you would consider the most attractive, but if you were to talk to them, be like, man, this is a cool ass girl. And guess what too? As she gets older, she's going to continue to hold on to her looks. I suppose that super cute girl that you look at, that like I bang, and then like I see her 3 years down the line, and she looks haggard and worn out because she fucking like did a bunch of coke off some drug dealer's dick, not knowing what to do to her body because she thinks that she's invulnerable and a god, and just never had anything bad happen in her life, and so she just like ingrained narcissistic traits into her brain. And now guess what? Now she's never gonna break out of that mold until like she gets like kicked in the face, which is probably gonna be around the time she's 40 or 50. But that's way past the point where I'd want to date her. So yeah, I wouldn't want to keep her around, to be honest. She'll look good. She'll be a good centerpiece, like for a lot of you guys who want to like prove to other men that you are of value, that to prove to other guys that you're the shit. But you should have proved it to yourself. You shouldn't have proved it to other guys. You're trying to prove it like to other guys. You're like, I'm gonna date this dime because I want to prove to other guys I'm good. You should have been self-validated, man. Like, you shouldn't have needed those other guys to tell you that you were awesome. You should have needed yourself. You don't need these other fucking dudes to say that you're awesome. You should have, like, self-validated. And you only get that through working your ass off. I go out every day and work on the social skills. So I'm tired as fuck right now. I shouldn't be able to say this, like, with as much charisma as I am at this moment. Which that sounded cocky as all fuck. But it's like... That last sentence never happened, by the way. That never happened. You guys should never have to like need another person to tell you that you're awesome. You should put in the work yourself, work your ass off, and then because you worked your ass off and you did things that other guys were unwilling to do because it was tough, it was hard. Like how many guys right now are going on approaching because it's hard, because not everybody's saying go do this fucking shit. A lot of you guys are going like, I can't do it because society doesn't want me to, and I'm gonna be a bad person. People are gonna say that I'm not enough and it's gonna hurt my feelings. Dude, quit being a fucking loser, man. Like, all right, it's going to be tough at first. For the first month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, it's going to be tough. But as you keep taking the action, it's going to feed back into the ego and the character, which is going to feed back again to the action. So as your narrative and your self-identity changes, it gets easier. I will approach like maybe like so me and my client, we approached probably like 30 to 40 girls yesterday, I'd guess, like around that. And we did pretty good, to be honest. But if any of them was to say that it was weird for us to do that, do you think we'd care? No. Like, fuck no. Like the society telling me like something, like my frame is stronger than society. Society saying that I can't do something is not going to stop me from doing it. Society telling me that I am stupid for working 100 hours a week, that I'm like not enjoying life. I promise you I'm enjoying life more than they are. Those guys that are saying that that I shouldn't be going and approaching girls. Do you know how much more socially intelligent I am? How much more tangibles I have about the world? How much more in touch with the world I am in reality than most other guys? And then they try to tell me that like something like, oh, your looks matter. Dude, I'm like, I don't know if you guys can see this, but dude, I got a belly on me right now, dude. And like these girls don't care. You know what they do? They backwards rationalize it and say you got a dad bod. Dude, the guys, like there's these guys out here with these six packs walking around. Like there's this guy on the Las Vegas Strip. He walks around with his shirt off. And he has a six-pack in his big chest, and he holds his shirt in his hand, and he circles the strip, waiting for girls to approach him. You know how many times I've seen him with girls? Do you know how many times he's seen me with girls? My fat ass with girls, and he's like, I'm confused. Oh, I don't get it. And then what he's gonna do is backwards rationalize the reason I get girls because of something that like, he's gonna backwards rationalize I get girls because of my fashion, or I get girls because I must be paying them or something like that, because he's gonna want to try to like rationalize his reality and his version of reality so he can keep being the shirtless guy that walks around the strip, because he's gonna be resistant because he went up this road so long, this ego road, where he's like, it's looks, it's all looks, and he went up this road for so long. If I tell him this, he's like, dude, I invested like the last 25 years of my life to thinking that this matters. You're not going to convince me the other way, and I'm not going to try to either. The guy's lost. The guy's going to be fucked till like the day he dies, and it's unfortunate too. It's unfortunate, but not everybody can be a winner, like straight up. You guys want to take this advice? It's one for a winner, and not everybody's going to be for it. The advice that he's taking is for that 99% that's always going to be a loser and will never figure this shit out, and it's a lot easier for them. It's a lot easier to be that fucking loser because there's a lot less effort involved. And the initial push to be this guy is not easy. And a lot of you guys are like, I don't want to go out and approach. Dude, it's the same thing as hitting the gym. Like, it's the same thing as hitting the gym. Like, if it's tough for you, of course it's gonna be tough at first. Everything's tough at first. Like, there's never gonna be a time where it's not tough. But you gotta kind of reframe it. Like, at some point when you start hitting the gym, doesn't the lactic acid, that feeling in your chest when it hurts, doesn't it start becoming a good feeling at some point? When you eat the broccoli and you keep eating the fucking broccoli day after day, doesn't the broccoli at some point, you start getting kind of like a high off of eating it? When you start meditating, and you meditate for maybe 2 months, it starts becoming fun, right? It's the same fucking thing. It's like when you invest in something, you start working out, you get bigger muscles. At some point, it starts becoming fun. It starts, like, the pain starts becoming the fun. The rejection starts becoming fun. The ways that you move things. Like, I get bored with sets sometimes, and so I start fucking around with them. I'll be talking to a girl and start fucking with her. Like, I switch shit up because I've been in it for so long that it's like, sometimes it gets boring. And when I start switching it up, it becomes like it's like a puzzle. Like, it's like, I'm doing this now, not so much for the girl anymore. I'm doing it for like the puzzle piece. I want to figure out how this whole world, this whole game works. I'm really interested in how people work and how social dynamics work. I want to know every aspect of it before I die. And it's not even, so you know what the funny thing is? It's not even about the puzzle, like figuring out the puzzle. It's about the act of figuring out the puzzle. That's the fun thing for me. And I think a lot of guys don't get that. I don't think, there's some guys in the community that are so about the results, but because they're so about the results, they're not getting the results. It's never been about the results. It's been about the action of getting the results. It's about the action itself. And anybody that's ever been good at anything, it's been about the action. So Arnold Schwarzenegger loved the lactic acid, that pain that he felt in his biceps. Now, I'm not for Trump, but do you know what Trump always said? So I researched Trump for a while because I look into guys that have something that I don't. And I could not stand in front of a giant crowd and fight them to the death, like, you know, verbally, and like beat them down. He has so much of a strong frame that he would just beat them into the ground. And he could be fighting a crowd of 100 people and be like, I'm right, you guys are all wrong. I couldn't do that. So I wanted to figure out how he could do it so I could do it. So what I started noticing was that he would, how do I put it? He loves talking to people. So he wakes up in the morning and he is talking the second he wakes up till the like time he goes to bed. Like, if you actually talk about his, like, his secretary always talk about this, he's all the time talking to people. He's an hyper extrovert. He also, you know what, actually, here, this has been a long ass video at this point, and I think I'm getting close to time. I need to go meet up with my client. Yeah, it's 4 more minutes. So I'm gonna get bouncing. If you guys are coming from a button pushing place, you need to come from more of an authentic, try to connect with a girl place. It's not gonna work button pushing. Build a connection with. All right, peace.
I had to look at myself greater than I actually was and believe that I was greater than I actually was. He's somewhat of a cantankerous warlord, a giant, bigger than any gladiator could ever imagine. I could take on Achilles or Alexander the Great. Mm-hmm. Being that person, I'm invincible. Right. But being Mike Tyson, tough guy from Brooklyn, no, I'm just a black guy that's gonna get beat eventually.
I always wanted to know, how come you never like rock the whole fancy robe and like, you know?
Yeah. My whole job was just to inflict pain in people's minds. A lot have to do with intimidation factor.
Yeah.
That's the biggest aspect of anything in life is intimidation. Because once a person who's a great anything is intimidated, he can no longer perform under the high level that he's normally accustomed to working because he's intimidated and he's shut down.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm the master of that. I put it out, I was going to be the most intimidating athlete in the history of the world of sports. Forget that, forget boxing, the history of the world of sports, you know? And you have to be willing. Boxing and sports and everything in life is all about a bluff. It's almost like playing cards in life. I say more so than I say shooting dice.
Yeah.
You know, because you could change dices and stuff, but they can't. They're hard. They can't mold. You know what I mean? You get sky. If you're just shooting, you shoot. Cards could bend.
Yeah.
Cards could bend like life. Us in life, we can bend. And even though we got a bad hand, that don't mean we're gonna lose the fucking game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we're going to stay in there, we're going to hold it to the end. And it's the same way in fighting and in life. Because we were born in swallows and the sewers and gutters, that don't mean we're going to stay there if we have the desire, willpower, perseverance to be able to endure the pain.
Yeah.
We got to endure that
Asking about
pain.
my background, never that cat that has to back down. Rolling up a half ounce it out loud, focus on stacking racks on my town.
It's that mind state that I'm in. A's gotta win, games gotta play, I'm fatal with pins. Made it, but haters are waiting for him to lose, so I'm taking offense. Praying my days, my fate to an end, but what made you convinced? That you could do what I do, were you able for this? Are you delusional, drinking on gin? Never be losing my faith that's within. Here's a part 2 to the game I begin. Use a cartoon, I'm a rated R film. Living in hell cause the